Hey guys, what is going on, and welcome to Stef ABtv. In this video I have the GR Yaris. Finally I get my hands on it. Now I'm really late to the party and I'm probably not going to tell you anything you don't already know about this car, but if anything I will reiterate what you need to know about this car. Now, I purposely left my review until the end of my press loan because I can tell you the moment this thing arrived, the moment I jumped into it and had a bit of a first drive, I fell in love with it. And I didn't want to kind of drive it and film it straight away because I thought, is that going to be, am I just buying into the hype? So the purpose of this is now I've had a bit of time to digest the car. I've had a bit of time to kind of get to know its quirks and stuff. And what we're going to do is going to take it for a bit of a drive. I'm going to tell you what it's like, what it feels like, and my overall thoughts on it. But what I want to do first of all is just start with a quick, just absorbing how good this thing looks. I mean, just take a look at this. The GR Yaris is a kind of homologation special. It's been designed to kind of operate in the World Rally Championship. From the standard Yaris, this has got such an aggressive front end. It's got some really aggressive rear arches, and actually, I think this thing looks incredible, particularly in black. Now, this of course does have the kind of circuit pack, which includes things such as the 2 LSDs, which we'll touch on once we drive the car, but you also get the 18-inch forged BBS alloys as well with this. Now, on top of the car, you can see we've got what looks like a carbon fiber roof, but it's kind of a bit of a polymer, lightweight plastic, if you like, with a carbon wrap over it. But initial design, I absolutely love it. From the front, from the rear, from the sides, it looks sensational. Right, let's jump in the car, let's go for a drive. I'm excited to do this, guys. Oh man, I've waited far too long for this. Okay, so let's see what this little thing is actually like to drive. First things first, a quick acceleration. Oh, that's tasty. That is very tasty. So what do we get from this GR Yaris? So, running this car is a 1.6 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged engine. It produces 257 brake horsepower and will deliver a 0 to 62 time of just 5.5 seconds. Oh man, this thing redlines at 7,000, so you can really ring it out. And actually, it feels great. It feels really fun to drive. And I know that I'm probably not telling you anything that you haven't heard before, but believe me, this thing is extremely fun. Now, in terms of price point, this is where it gets amazingly interesting for me. This car on the road is £33,500, and this specific car is a GR Yaris with the circuit pack. You get the 2 limited slip differentials because this car is 4-wheel drive, which is bonkers, and I'll touch more about that 4-wheel drive trickery very shortly. So with the 2 LSDs, it means that this car just becomes an absolute riot to drive. Oh my word. In terms of sound, from outside the car, I guess it doesn't sound that good, if I'm being honest with you. But from inside the cabin where I'm sitting here, I think they've done a great job. Really good job. Now, when Toyota built this car, they didn't mess around, and I'm so glad that they built it. And there's a question as to whether this car will actually even make it into the Rally Championship. Who knows? But what they have created, what they have delivered, is an absolutely fundamentally bonkers little car. Now, what do you get from this? I'm going to first let me touch on this, because this is a 6-speed manual. It's a glorious manual box. It feels very mechanical. The shifts are not long. They feel great. The clutch itself is extremely light, so it's not very heavy on your left foot. Now, where this car gets really interesting for me is that you've got 3 driving modes, which is amazing. So, in normal mode, you have the car set to a 60% front bias, 40% rear bias, which is kind of your traditional 4-wheel drive setup. If you put it into track mode, it gives you a genuine 50-50 split, so 50 front, 50 rear. And then if you put it into sport mode, it sends 30% of the power to the front wheels and 70% of the power to the rear, which is nuts. You turn the traction control off, you can seriously drift this thing, which makes it an exciting car. In fact, it makes it like 3 different cars, which I think is just mental. I think it's great. The other thing to note as well is, you know, yes, it's 257 horsepower, but it's quite light. You know, it's what, 1,280 kilos for this little thing, and that includes the 4-wheel drive system. You've got to take that into account. 1,280, and that's why this feels so fun. If anything, it feels more than 250 horsepower. I love it. I absolutely love it. In terms of the steering feel is a little bit heavy, but that's fine. You know, it's not anything that I'm not used to driving. In terms of kind of what I'm seeing in front of me now, look, I'm going to be brutally honest. I've never been a huge fan of kind of Japanese car interiors. I think they're a little dull, if I'm honest with you. You know, they're nowhere near the quality of what you get from the Germans. That's just expected. However, I think it works in this car. I've got a very nice kind of 3-point steering wheel with a GR Yaris logo in the middle. I've got a nice kind of little mini TFT display, which is giving me a very nice viewpoint of my boost gauge, which is very kind of rally-esque, if you like. I've got analog dials, which I think works. Nowadays, everyone's going to digital. I think analog works nicely in this car. I've got a monster screen in the middle, and whilst I'm being honest, I don't think the screen's actually very good in terms of kind of its usability. Doesn't look very intuitive. On the circuit pack, you don't have the sat nav, although there's a map button. I get why, because it's a circuit pack. But you do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which actually on this screen will be relatively good. Now, the seats for me are a winner. I love these seats. I honestly, they are so comfortable. Literally, I mean, there's an argument to say for some people they might be a little bit too soft. Oh, I can feel the back going there. There's an argument for some people that these might be a little bit too soft, but for me, these are amazing. They are so comfortable, and I could easily do a long distance with this car. The other thing that I love about the GR Yaris is that whilst it is a hardcore rally-focused car, it still gives you a hell of a lot of creature comfort. I get cruise control in this thing, and it's not just normal, it's adaptive cruise control. I get lane assist, lane departure warning, you know, lane assist steering, so it gives me all the stuff that I would want for day-to-day driving. Now, there are some negatives about this car, and it wouldn't be a proper review without me sharing the negatives. The first of which for me is an element of visibility. Now, in this middle section here, the screen is pretty large, and the mirror is also pretty large. It creates a massive blind spot here in the center, and actually right now with the camera there, I can barely see anything out of there. That's one negative for me. And then the other bit around visibility is the rear window. I can't really see much out of it. It's almost like peeking through a letterbox. You don't really have too much viewpoint out the back. And the same thing with the sides. There's a couple of blind spots there, but look, you're nitpicking there. But that is something to take into consideration. The other negative for me, and something that I guess may not be negative for some, I think is the kind of, like I said, the quality of the screen. Whilst you get a kind of reversing camera on this, it is extremely pixelated. It's almost like the camera was taken kind of out of a Nokia 5110. You know, it works, it does the job, don't get me wrong, but to be fair, I would have liked to have seen in 2021 a better camera setup. Again, but that's not what this car is about, so you've got to take that, you know, with a pinch of salt. But these are things that people may potentially look at as negatives. There are, of course, when you look at the interior, there are kind of some cheapo plastics and stuff, but this is what you'd expect. Look, I'm not even going to go into that. I think it's for the price point, you get a hell of a lot of car. You do get some very nice kind of Alcantara bits in here, but as I said, this car isn't necessarily, you know, this was built for a purpose. It was built to be a WRC homologation to race in the World Rally Championship, which makes it an incredible B-road muncher. And even in these kind of damp, horrible conditions that I'm in right now, this car is great, guys. It is really, really, really good, really, really, really fun. Now in terms of the driving position as a driver, like I said, the seats are extremely comfortable. I sit very, very nice. I've got great back support. The steering wheel feels nice. As I said, it's a little bit kind of hard, but it's got a nice feel. It's not too chunky, and I like that about this car. The kind of positioning of the gearbox as well is perfectly in tune with my hand, and the way these kind of mechanical shifts just kind of clunk in, it feels great, and it's just joyous to kind of flick up and down through the gears. It also has a bit of a kind of clever system where if you don't want to auto rev match, you've got a button down here which is called kind of intelligent manual transmission, I think, IMT. And anyway, what that does is it will kind of rev match for you, so it kind of optimizes your gear shift. In an ideal world, you're doing it yourself, you're doing your rev matching, but if you're feeling lazy, you do have that option, which is a kind of great thing. Honestly, guys, this is an absolute riot. Now, I did kind of say, look, like I said at the start of the video, I purposely left my driving impressions towards the end of the loan, because this is one of those cars that you fall in love with pretty instantly. And I thought to myself, look, I don't want to buy into the hype, because I got in this car, I took it for its first drive, and I was like, this is just insane. It's incredible. When you kind of start to look at kind of its competition, you know, this is way out of the league, in my opinion, of things kind of like your mini JCWs and your Abarths, etc. You know, for me, this actually falls into, in terms of performance anyway, this falls in line for me with kind of like Audi S3, Golf R, i30N, those kind of cars, because it feels so much quicker and it performs so well. The hype is real, and I'm probably not telling you anything that you don't already know, and I'm sure so many of you have watched other videos from other motor journalists, because, well, this specific car is a press car, and this has done 7,400 miles, which shows you how late to the party I am to this review. But if anything, this review may have actually solidified for you just how good this GR Yaris is. And as I said, for the price point, 33.5 grand, it's brilliant. It really is brilliant. I mean, I drive this car, guys, and I genuinely look at this, I think, Jesus, I think I want one of these. Genuinely, it gives me that feeling. It gives me that I want feeling, and that for me is pretty important. I'll just quickly spin it around now. The suspension itself, let's talk about that quickly before we sign off. The suspension itself is actually great. It's not crazy stiff. It has a bit of body roll, which you'd expect from a kind of WRC kind of style car. You know, I love that about it. The bumps are pretty absorbent. It's kind of pretty forgiving when you hit your potholes as well. But again, that's what this car is. It's a rally car. That's what makes this so great. It is a rally car for the road. And you can just take this all the way up to 7,000 RPM all day long, and it just rewards you. It really does. This is such a fun car. You get things like launch control in this as well. You know, it gives you everything. It gives you everything. And yes, there are a couple of negatives there, but overall, guys, I love the GR Yaris. Love it. Literally love it. I can't say anything else about this car other than I love it. There you go. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this review of the GR Yaris. If you did enjoy this video, guys, I would really appreciate if you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. My name is Stef. You guys have been awesome. Make sure to stay tuned for more content, and I will see you all very soon on the next video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.